invested into our lives, and they're rare. There's not a whole lot of those. I can probably count on one hand the number of people who really got into my life over, the course of my life, from when I started serving God and wanting to live for Jesus as a teenager right the way through. But there's been a handful of people who have spoken into my life and said, "Hey Phil, I believe you can do it. Phil, let me encourage you." Or people who would just listen when I wanted to talk about my life, or people who would pick up the phone, or someone who'd be there. And I think the fact is that all of us would say the reason why we're in this room isn't because just we had a moment with God and that was it. No, it relates to people as well. And if we're going to serve the generation that's coming after us, then we need to consider what was it about those people who served us and the way they did that. The youth pastor who used to pick me up and take me home after youth with a whole bunch of other kids, when it would have been far easier for them just to have their own life, but they sacrificed for us. And the fact that we have people who... Thank you very much. I think 5 push-ups would be good just right now. Tyler, that would be there. 1, 2, 3, 3.5, 4, 5. Thank you very much. Give it up for Taylor. Just Elvis spontaneously appears and then Elvis leaves the building. People are going to go, "What was the Elvis thing about?" No reason. The only thing is we were in Memphis. That's probably where it came from. We were in Memphis as we came from Houston up to Toronto. So we're in Memphis for the day and we went to Graceland. So we made Taylor wear an Elvis suit at Graceland. We thought it was funny. There was all the people who worked there just thought it was pretty normal, actually. So anyway, the fact is that all of us, the reason why we're here is because there was someone who invested into us and said, "You can do it, you can make it." They prayed for us, they committed to us, they allowed us to speak about our life. It wasn't just that we got preached to, but someone somewhere spoke into our life. And the reason why we are the way we are, and we've chosen to make the decisions we've chosen, is because of the example and the life that they had that connected with us. In fact, in 1 Corinthians 11:1, is that right? I need to just look it up, but I'm pretty sure it is. 1 Corinthians 11:1. Paul speaks. And he says these words, which are really powerful words, and in fact words that I say to anyone who's going to be in any form of ministry, but I think particularly with young people. He says, "Imitate me, or follow my example, as I follow the example of Christ." Paul wasn't just saying follow Christ, he was actually saying you can look at my example, and as I live you can follow after that, and it's going to teach you how you can live. And the leadership life, the leadership journey, to me is all about living that life worth following. I think parents have a responsibility to do that with their kids, and I think those of us who are in ministry and serving God have a responsibility to do that with those around us. And it reminds me of this story that I heard about this little girl who was starting high school. She's in high school and she goes into this class that they're doing right at the start of the year, and it's kind of this philosophy class where they're learning about, who they are and about the world, and it's kind of a little out there. And all the kids come into this class and they're sitting there and she's there, and everyone's pretty new, and this teacher walks in, and the teacher is a seasoned pro. This teacher has been teaching for a long time, and the teacher obviously has their thinking and their mentality and their ideas and philosophy of life. And the teacher says, "All right, class, I want to start by saying I'm an atheist, and I want to know who else in this class are atheists." Now, they're just starting high school, so there's a whole lot of kids who don't even know what an atheist is, let alone how to spell it. But because the teacher has said, "I'm an atheist, I want to know who else is atheist," there's kids putting their hand up because they want to please the teacher. This little girl's hand's not up. She's just sitting there watching everything that goes on. The teacher notices there's a whole lot don't put their hands up, so she gets a little more forceful and says, I'm an atheist. I want to know who else in this class is an atheist. This time most kids have their hands up, except this little girl. Now the teacher kind of notices this little girl and sees that she's kind of just sitting there and not moving and just looking. And so she eyeballs her and she says it one more time. Class, I'm an atheist and I want to know who else in this room are atheists. This time pretty much every kid's got their hand up except this little girl. So now the teacher looks at her and I suppose does a little bit of, trying to maybe publicly humiliate her or whatever and says, so, young lady down the back there, obviously everyone else here seems to be an atheist and think they are, but you're not. Why is that? And she looks back at the teacher and says, well, actually, I'm a Christian. And the teacher says, really, you're a Christian? Why would you be a Christian? The little girl says, well, because my parents are Christians and I've grown up in a family that has gone to church, and I've decided that I would make my own commitment as I've seen how they live and had someone who was like a youth leader in my life, and the way they lived and what they taught me and showed me, I thought this is for real. So I chose to commit my life to Jesus and be a Christian. The teacher looks at her and says, so really it's because of your parents, that's why you're a Christian. And the girl goes, well, I made my own decision, but yeah, my parents are Christians. So the teacher looks around at the class and looks at her and says, so you're a Christian because your parents are Christians. What about if your parents were morons? What would you be? It's kind of harsh. Everyone's quiet. The little girl stops for a moment and then looks back at the teacher and says, well, miss, I guess I'd be an atheist. I like that. The fact is, for young people today, there's a whole lot of philosophies and a whole lot of ways of thinking that are challenging them. And the reason why some young people get caught up in thinking and philosophies the way they do is because no one actually has ever shown them that there is a better way, or there's a way that seems real, but it's just been religion. And I think there's a lot of young people who are searching for truth, and they're going to find truth when they see it lived out, as we've been talking really through this whole conference, lived out in the lives of those who are closest to them. And our leadership journey, if you like, is all about us looking at our life like Paul was prepared to say in 1 Corinthians 11:1 and say, imitate me. I'm living a life worth imitating. I'm not perfect. I don't get it right all the time, but I'm pursuing Jesus. And as I do that, if you follow after how I'm living, you're going to see Jesus as well. I think it's critical that we be people who live like that and understand the responsibility that we have for those that we connect with in our world.